I always prided myself on being a modern man. Mateo Acosta, architect. My world was one of blueprints and bylaws, concrete and steel, logic and predictable outcomes. Superstition? That was for the old folks back in the countryside, the ones my family had largely drifted away from. So, when my estranged Tio Andres passed and left me his old estancia in the foothills near Villarrica, I saw it primarily as an asset, an investment, perhaps a rustic weekend getaway. I certainly didn't see it as the awakening of a curse. My wife, Clara, and our 7-year-old daughter, Sophia, were thrilled. An adventure in the country. The estancia was beautiful, in a sprawling, dilapidated sort of way, shadowed by ancient, gnarled trees, the air thick with the scent of dust, old wood, and flowering jacaranda. There was a small, neglected family chapel on the grounds, its stone walls crumbling, and a scraggly patch of pindo palms at the edge of the property that looked like they were slowly surrendering to the encroaching wilderness. The first week was deceptively idyllic. Lazy days under a warm sun, starlit nights filled with the chirping of cicadas. Then Sophia started talking about the big angry sheep. She said it watched her from the tree line when she played near the old chapel. It had, in her 7-year-old words, sad yellow eyes, and sometimes made a soft ow ow sound, like it was calling for something it had lost. I ruffled her hair, told her it was probably just a wild goat. Kids have such active imaginations, don't they? The feeling began subtly, that insistent prickle on the back of your neck when you think you're being watched, even when you're alone. I'd be on the veranda trying to read and suddenly feel unseen eyes on me from the dark spaces between the trees. Clara felt it too, though she tried to laugh it off as the creepy old house vibe. The local workers we'd hired to help clear some of the overgrown land grew increasingly agitated. They'd whisper in Guaraní, casting nervous glances towards the looming mountains. El dueño de los cerros, they'd murmur, the owner of the hills. He was disturbed, they said. One evening, my old tia Inez came to visit from her village further in the hills. She was Guaraní, her connection to the old ways still strong and vibrant. She saw Sophia's crayon drawing of the angry sheep. Her weathered face went pale. She took me aside, her voice low and urgent, her dark eyes filled with a gravity that chilled me despite the warm night. She spoke of our ancestor, my great-great-grandfather, a man who, according to family legend, had committed a terrible transgression against Tao, the ancient spirit of the land. A debt, she said, was owed, a bloodline burden. And the Ao Ao, one of Tao's 7 monstrous sons, was its traditional enforcer. She spoke of the Guarani belief in a dual soul, the spiritual soul and the animal soul. The Ao Ao, she whispered, her hand gripping my arm, doesn't just kill. It consumes the animal soul, leaving the spiritual soul to wander, tormented and lost for eternity. It will come for the blood, Mateo, she warned, her gaze flicking towards where Sophia slept. Especially the innocent blood. I wanted to dismiss it, utterly preposterous. But Sophia's angry sheep suddenly felt a lot less like a child's fantasy. That night, the sound started. Not just the distant, mournful ow ow. This was closer. A strange, heavy shuffling around the perimeter of the house. Muffled scratching at the wooden shutters. I double-checked all the locks, my heart hammering against my ribs. Clara held Sophia tight in her arms, her own fear a palpable presence in the room. The pindo palms on our property, Tia Inez had looked at them with such profound sadness. Weak, she'd said. The curse upon your line weakens their protection for your blood. One morning, we found one of the smaller pindo saplings near the house clawed viciously, bark stripped away in ragged strips as if in a focused fury. The angry sheep wasn't just at the tree line anymore. Sophia swore it peered into her window one night. She described its face, not truly sheep-like at all up close. Long, matted fur, like a neglected, filthy animal, yes. But the eyes, she said they were too big, too unsettlingly intelligent and glowing with a faint, sickly yellow light in the oppressive darkness. And the teeth. She whimpered that they weren't sheep teeth at all. They were long and sharp, The encounters became more direct, more terrifyingly personal. One evening, we were all in the main room, the oil lamps casting flickering shadows. The old, heavy wooden door to the back patio suddenly buckled inward with a sickening groan, a massive, dark shape slamming against it from the outside. Not a kick, a full-body impact. It sounded impossibly heavy, wet. It hit it again and again, the ancient wood groaning in protest, splinters flying. I shoved a heavy, antique armoire against the straining door, screaming for Clara to take Sophia to the inner rooms to hide. The thing outside let out a guttural roar, that unmistakable "ow, ow" cry, but it was distorted now, choked with an unnerving rage. It knew we were in there. This wasn't random. It was personal. It was hunting us. Tia Inez had told me of a sacred pindo grove deep in the communal lands of her village, not on our cursed, tainted property. A place of true ancient sanctuary. It was our only desperate hope. Under the cover of a moonless, oppressively humid night, we made our escape. Every shadow seemed to writhe with unseen menace. Every rustle of leaves was its stealthy approach. Sophia clung to me, silent with a terror too deep for tears. We could hear it following, crashing through the undergrowth with terrifying speed, its hunting calls echoing through the still night air. It was intelligent, flanking us, trying to cut off our desperate path to the dirt road. Once, a large, dark shape lunged from the dense foliage at our side. I only saw a fleeting flash of matted fur and those huge, cloven hooves striking the earth where we had been mere moments before. I fired the old shotgun Tio Andres kept in his study, the blast deafening, more to create a diversion than with any real hope of hitting it in the pitch dark. The muzzle flash lit up the night for a terrifying second, and I saw not a sheep. Something hunched, impossibly powerful, its silhouette monstrously, fundamentally wrong. We reached Tia Inez's village, bursting into the Pindo Grove she'd described. It felt different here, instantly. The air was cleaner, the oppressive silence replaced by a natural, peaceful quiet. The ow-ow's cries faded, replaced by frustrated, guttural howls at the very edge of the sacred space. It couldn't, or perhaps wouldn't, enter. We survived that night. We sold the estancia immediately at a staggering loss. We never went back. But the fear, it never truly leaves. Sophia still has nightmares about the angry sheep with the terrible yellow eyes. I know the curse, the bloodline's burden. It's still there, a dormant poison in my veins, in hers. The ow-ow is patient. It is an enforcer of an ancient, broken pact, and our debt, I fear, is only deferred, not forgiven. That thing wasn't just an animal. It was a judgment made flesh. And it's waiting, always waiting. Listen to your elders, to the old stories. Sometimes, the superstitions your modern mind so easily dismisses, they have teeth, and they hunger for what is owed. My little brother, Nico. He was 7, always chasing butterflies, always wandering off, his laughter like little bells. I was supposed to be watching him that day during the yerba mate harvest, but I got distracted, talking with friends. When we realized he was gone, the silence that fell over the village was heavier than any storm. They said Jasy Jatere took him. The little blonde boy of the forest with his golden whistle, who spirits away naughty children. That's what the elders whispered. That's what our shaman, Old Kai, advised. Appeasement rites. Don't search too deep in the mountains. Some children are simply taken. I felt a cold knot of guilt in my chest. I remembered Abuela's forbidden tales, not just of Jasy Jatere, but of his monstrous cursed brother, Ow Ow. The village mourned, then tried to move on. But I couldn't. Nico was last seen near the edge of the forest where the yerba bushes grow thickest. I went there alone. And I found it. Not Nico's, but a small, intricately carved wooden whistle. Smooth, pale wood. Not like any local craft. Jasy Jatere's calling card. It should have been a comfort, a confirmation. But something felt wrong. The shaman warned me again, his eyes holding a strange depth. Some paths are best left unwalked, David. But Nico was my brother. I had to know. Days later, searching further than anyone dared, far from the Jasy Jatere spot, on a faint animal trail leading towards the dark burnt hill, I found Nico's favorite toy, a little capybara he'd carved himself from softwood, and near it, a single, oddly large sheep-like dropping. My blood turned to ice. No sheep grazed this high, no normal sheep. That night, I heard it, a sound the elders forbade us even to speak of. Ow, 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 a low, mournful cry that seemed to seep from the earth itself, echoing from the direction of the burnt hill. It wasn't Jasy Jatere's playful, flute-like song. This was a sound of hunger, of primordial darkness. Driven by a desperate, terrible hope, I followed the old, forbidden trails the next day, towards the mountain the grandmothers called Ow Ow's dining room. I found a place, a shallow cave, almost a crevice hidden behind a curtain of vines. The air was cold, stale, and inside, tattered pieces of children's clothing, small shirts, a faded pair of trousers, a little red ribbon I recognized. It had belonged to Maria, a girl who vanished last harvest, also blamed on Jasy Jatere. There were no bones, just clothes, and the faint, lingering scent of damp wool and something else, something sickly sweet, like decay. The realization hit me like a physical blow. These children weren't just lost or spirited away, they were consumed. My mind raced, connecting the whispers, the warnings, Nico's toy, the whistle. Jasy Jatere, the beautiful, innocent-looking spirit. What if he wasn't just a kidnapper? What if he was a procurer? The thought was so monstrous, so blasphemous to the sanitized village tales, it made me choke. I hid deeper in the crevice as I heard it, the faint, ethereal notes of a whistle. Closer this time. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic drum of terror. I peered through a tiny gap in the vines. I saw him. A flicker of gold through the leaves. Jasy Jatere, just as the stories described him. Slender, with hair like spun moonlight, his face beautiful, innocent. And he was leading a child by the hand. A small boy, younger than Nico, looking confused, but not frightened. Jasy Jatere smiled, a sweet, beckoning smile. He led the child towards a dense thicket of quebracho trees at the foot of the cerro. And then, I saw it, waiting in the deep shadows. At first, just a darker patch of gloom. Then it shifted. A large, hunched shape, like a massive, dirty sheep. It made no sound. Jasy Jatere. He gently nudged the child forward, towards the waiting shadow. The child stumbled, then looked back, a small whimper escaping his lips. Jasy Jatere just kept smiling, and from the shadows came a soft, almost gentle, ow, ow, ow. A greeting, or an invitation. The shadow moved, enveloping the small figure. There was no scream, just a sudden, awful silence broken only by Jasy Jatere's soft, retreating whistle. I don't know how long I stayed hidden, paralyzed by a horror that had no name. My brother, Nico. He wasn't just taken. He was delivered, fed to an ancient hunger by a thing of beauty. I stumbled back to the village, babbling my fragmented, terrible truth. They didn't want to hear it. They preferred the story of the playful spirit, the mischievous kidnapper. It was easier, less monstrous. The shaman just looked at me with sad, knowing eyes. I live with the knowledge now. The unbearable truth of a horrifying symbiosis between two legendary evils. Jasy Jatere still walks the forest paths, his whistle a deadly lullaby. And his brother, the Ow Ow, waits patiently in the shadows of the burnt hill. Some children are not just lost, they are offerings. And the worst part? Jasy Jatere still looks so innocent. And his whistle, sometimes I still hear it in my dreams. Faint, beckoning, and I know the Ow Ow is never far behind. My brother's echo, it's in that silence after the whistle stops. October 12th, in the year of our Lord, 1723. The mission at Santa Maria de la Selva is established, though the wilderness presses close. The Guaraní who are new to the faith are timid, and their beliefs are easily shaken. They speak in hushed tones of a creature they call Au Au, a forest demon. They say it resembles a great sheep, but with the appetite of a wolf, and fells trees to reach its prey. Pagan superstition, no doubt, perhaps a misidentified jaguar, or a manifestation of the devil's influence in these untamed lands. It is my sacred duty as a scholar missionary of the Society of Jesus to catalog these beliefs, and then to eradicate them with the pure light of Christ. My unshakable faith is my shield, their fear a testament to the darkness I am here to conquer. For weeks my work proceeded. I chronicled their tales, attempting to equate the Au Au with beasts from Scripture, the Leviathan perhaps, or the ravenous wolves that scatter the flock. The Guaraní had a particular reverence for the pindo palm, leaving offerings at crude shrines. One such shrine, a collection of carved wood and woven leaves, stood near the mission, an affront to true worship. With righteous conviction, I had it dismantled and burned, a necessary act to cleanse the land of idolatry. Yet, after, the forest felt different. The air grew heavier, the shadows deeper, and then the cries began. Faint at first, a mournful ow, ow, ow carried on the humid wind. The Guaraní crossed themselves, their eyes wide with a terror I dismissed as residual pagan fear. I told them it was the howl of devils testing our resolve, a sound that would soon be silenced by prayer. The cries grew more frequent, closer. I led litanies, sprinkled holy water along the mission's flimsy palisade, but the sounds only intensified, became more mocking. My attempts to exorcise this unseen presence seemed not to repel it, but to provoke it. One stormy evening, a convert, his face ashen, pointed to the edge of the jungle. There, partially visible in a flash of lightning, was a shape, huddled like a very large, sodden sheep. Then it was gone. Ow, ow, he whispered before fleeing into the chapel. The attacks began subtly. Livestock missing. Strange, deep gouges in the mission's outer fence. Then it became bolder. The creature, for I could no longer deny its presence, would crash against the wooden walls at night, the impacts shaking our small buildings. Its true form was glimpsed in flashes of lightning, not merely a sheep, but something monstrously powerful, capable of felling smaller trees with brute force, its eyes burning with a malevolent red glow. It devoured clothes left on lines, a bizarre detail the Guaraní had mentioned, leaving no other trace of what or who it might have taken from outside the mission grounds. One night, the main gate splintered. The creature or creatures were trying to get in. Panic erupted. I stood before the breach, crucifix held high, intoning the rites of exorcism. Vade retro, Satana! I cried. The guttural snarling that answered me was not of any demon I had read about. It was bestial and hungry. It forced its way partially through. I saw a massive wool-covered leg, thick as a tree trunk, claws tearing at the wood. Its stench of wet earth and decay filled the air. My silver crucifix, the relics I carried, they had no effect. It swatted at them as if they were flies. Desperate, one of the elder Guaraní converts, remembering the old ways, grabbed a burning brand from the fire, a branch of pindo wood I had earlier allowed them for cooking. He thrust it at the monstrous limb. The creature, it recoiled. A sound like a scream, but deeper, more resonant than any human voice, tore from it. It pulled back from the burning pindo wood, a visible aversion, a palpable fear. Not from my cross, not from my prayers, but from this pagan symbol. In that moment, my theological framework, my entire understanding of God's dominion, shattered. This thing, this ow ow, it was an ancient power, an evil that predated the true faith, and it answered to laws I did not comprehend. The Guaraní, with their savage beliefs, held a truth, a defense that my sophisticated European theology could not touch. The Ao Ao retreated that night, but the mission was breached, our sanctity violated. Several converts were gone. I am alone now, barricaded in the crumbling chapel, my ink running low, this chronicle my only companion. The cries still echo from the jungle, a promise of return. My God, have you forsaken this place? Or was it never yours to claim? I realize now, with a cold, sickening dread, that in my zeal to destroy their idolatry, I may have destroyed their only true protection. My records, intended to bring enlightenment, will now only serve as a desperate, terrified testament to an evil my faith could not conquer, and a wisdom I was too arrogant to see. The Ao Ao is patient, and the Pindo wood, we have so little left. What I recorded as blasphemy may have been their salvation, and my attempt to bring God's word may have only invited the devil in, or something far, far older.